Let's now abstract the authentication code from the getUsers endpoint so it can be used with any route that we create. So we're going to do this by creating our own custom middleware. So you'll recall that middleware is a hook into your request response loop that can transform the request or response objects. So for example, we added the body parser middleware to Express, which transforms the request body from a stream to a JavaScript object. Well, in this case, we want to create custom middleware that will check for a token in the request, and if it's valid, attach the appropriate user to the request object, or if it's not valid, move straight to a 401 unauthorized response. Now we can selectively apply this middleware so that some endpoints are protected while others remain public. So first what we're going to do is create a middleware directory. So we'll go make the server middleware, and then we want to create a middleware file, and this one will be auth.js. Alright, so let's go ahead and open that new file now. And at the top of this file, what we want to do is export a async function, and unlike a controller method, middleware methods have rec and res as arguments, but also another argument which is next. And next is a function that allows asynchronous code in your middleware. So Express is going to halt the request and response loop until next gets called somewhere in your middleware method. And I forgot to put my arrow in there. Okay, so let's begin by simply copying the function from the user's controller. So what we're going to do is grab all this code here and paste it inside this method here like that. And don't forget as well that we're going to need to require the user module. User model. So the only real change to this code that we need to do is what we do when we find a user. So rather than just sending it back like we do down here, what we're going to do instead is we're going to attach it to the request object. So we'll delete that line, and instead of declaring this const here, we can just go rec.user and assign it there like that. We also want to put the token on the request object as well. And once we've done that, we can just call next. And note that we still want to send a 401 error back in both of these cases if authentication fails, because we want the response loop to terminate if an unauthorized route is being accessed. Now that our auth middleware is created, we can go ahead and use it with our getUsers route. So let's firstly require the middleware at the top of the file, and we'll create a constant authenticate, and we'll require our middleware. Now to apply the middleware, we can insert a call to the all method in the route chain above the route or routes that we want to apply it to, and passing the middleware in as an argument. So in this case, we don't want to authenticate the post users endpoint, but we do want to authenticate the get users endpoint. So what we'll do is put a call to all here, and then we can pass in authenticate like that. Now if we wanted to authenticate the post users route as well, which wouldn't make any sense because that's the register users route, then we'd put the all call above that. Alright, now going to back to our controller, we can vastly simplify this controller method. So remember that the middleware is now going to take care of basically everything that was done in this function. So it's going to find the user, and it's going to do the error handling, and pretty much everything else. So all we need to do now is actually just go ahead and go res.send and just send the user object back. So it's attached to the request object here, so we can just go user and apply rec.user to it like that. So let's come over to Postman now and check that that still works. So we can go off and send a new request to get users. And it works, so that means everything's fine.